Hello and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to unbox the Sophie and Toffee Nightmare Before Christmas box. This box belongs to their Disney subscription box line and it has a really gorgeous design. I love how they designed the box. It's such a pretty box. I'm definitely going to keep this to store some supplies in. Let's have a look inside. First thing we see is that they continued to make a cool design on the inside of the box with lots of characters and Jack Skellington's head and stuff. And then we have the booklet, which also has some pretty cool artworks. And then we have this orange tissue paper, and I struggled quite a bit to figure out why I couldn't open it, and then I saw it was for some reason upside down. But once I flipped it, it uncovered this beautiful sticker that they used to close the tissue paper. And now we finally can have a look at the items that come inside this box. Now first up, let's start with this UV resin for silicone molds. And like the other Disney boxes, this resin also has the design specifically made for the box, which I find really awesome. Next up we have this silicone mold, and I think this locks onto another silicone mold. I'm not quite sure what these things do yet. Next up we have some design foils with some Christmas hats and Jack Skellington's bow tie thing, and we also have these like chibi-esque comical character designs that they gave us, and they're super cute. I'm a big fan of them. Next up we have another one of these like mold halves, and then we have these like pin backings in gold. Next up we have the silicone mold for the Christmas hat and Jack's bow tie, and I'm not sure what the top design is, but I think it might be like a Santa Claus beard or something like that. And it looks like these silicone mold fit the design sheet they included. Next up we have these open bezels with 3 character designs, and like in the previous box, in the Ariel box, they come with some like Disney logo danglies on top. Then we have these character molds, and it looks like in the mold we get the front and the back of the characters. So 6 characters on top, and the lower 6 designs are for the characters' backs. And it looks like these silicone molds fit for the like other silicone molds that we unboxed first, and I think they make them hollow. If I remember correctly, these are like straw toppers or something like that. Now the other straw topper mold halves thingies are from Jack Skellington's face, and again we have the top row with the faces and the bottom 2 rows with the backings of them, and I love that they chose to make different expressions of him. If I remember correctly from Sophie and Toffee's Instagram, this is to be a Fidget Spinner mold, and it comes with all the packs and stuff you need to make a fidget spinner, and this has this really cute chibi designs of some of the characters of the movie. Then we get the last silicone mold, which is a dice mold for the Oogie Boogie dice. And I'm really excited for this one because I love dice, and I think this is a great idea to include a mold like this in this box. And the last item in the box are these glitters, and I suspect there's something like glow in the dark or such. I have the feeling there will be, and if they are, that would be pretty cool. So now that we have all the items from the box, let's look inside the booklet. And first we have their like Instagram handles and stuff, and then we get information about each and every one of the molds, starting with the badge spinner mold, and apparently the like pin backings are for the fidget spinner. And then we get to see all the variations of straw poppers we can make, and I was right, the topmost mold must be a Christmas beard, and we have the Christmas hat and Jack's bow tie that we can add to the half-rounded Jack faces mold to make them into straw toppers. Which is really nice, because that means we can decide which face we want to have as which character and which straw toppers we basically want to make. Now, next up we see the Oogie Boogie dice mold, and they made their dice with some kind of green, which I also really like as a design choice. I think green and black are some excellent Halloween spooky colors. And we see the bezel charms a bit better again. And then we just see the last items in this box, and apparently the glitters are color changing, which is really, really awesome. And if we hold a UV lamp to them, we indeed can see the color change happening, which is so awesome. This is my first time having color changing glitters. Now, the back of the booklet has this really, really sweet artwork. And now that we have unboxed everything, let's get into crafting. Now, I personally don't use straws that often, so I won't be making straw poppers, but luckily we don't have to add the back to the mold, so we can just make something different out of these molds. Now, I struggled really, really badly while removing the seal from the bottle. I found with some Sophie and Toffee bottles it goes really, really easily, and with some I am having a really, really hard time and it hurts my fingers, and in the end I have to use a tool. But this also means that the bottle is sealed pretty well. And for this first design I decided I had to try the glitters. So I used the white glitter that will turn to pink. And I chose to make the ghost out of it. So I basically just added a ton of glitter, and then I just added it directly into the ghost mold after waiting for a little while for the air bubbles to pop. Now, next I decided to make 2 of the Jack Skellington molds, and I got this UV color changing pigment that I also ordered for Sophie and Toffee a long time ago, and I'm just mixing a lot of that in to make it kind of a milky resin color. And then I decided to add just some white UV resin pigment so that it will have like a more bony color. I know this sounds kind of bad, but Jack Skellington has this like off-white bony color. Moving on, next up for the next Jack I'm using some glow in the dark, and this one is light purple, so I decided to make it even more purple with some pigments, and then I just popped the bubbles and put it in from a higher place, and I made sure to put it in evenly and slowly, so for the first mold all the teeth and details would be picked up without any air bubbles. Same for the second mold, pouring it from a high place very, very slowly. And after that I'm just curing the pieces with my UV lamp. And lastly, I wanted to make one of the Oogie Boogie dice, so I decided to use some mica powders in black and to just like outline the like skeleton faces, and I'm just coloring in the numbers a bit and the outline of every face of the dice. And after that I just shake out the leftover pigments, and then I'm mixing up some more UV resin. And this time I decided to go with some red pigment powders. And this is also from Sophie and Toffee. I'm just realizing most of my supplies that I use for resining are from Sophie and Toffee. And this is a really, really vibrant red. So after letting it sit for a while to get out the bubbles, I'm just really, really slowly pouring it in, making sure to top it up a bit and to cover the lid also. And then I'm just flipping the lid on top. Now, the stuff that runs down the sides doesn't really matter, since when I place the lid down, it will flatten the resin on top so much that I won't have any excess that I have to cut off. I just have to break off the parts that have run out of the mold, and I'm left with a finished dice. Or is it dye? I can never quite remember. Oh well. Now, I really, really loved how this dye turned out. I love how the red color comes through the mica powder layer, and the mica powder isn't so thick as to block the color underneath completely, so it definitely shimmers through red. Now, to finish this off, I'm just simply using my X-Acto knife and going around the corners a little bit where there's a little tiny bit of flushing, and afterwards it's time to color the faces of the die, or the eye of the die to be more exact. And I'm just using a black Posca marker. Now you can obviously also use something like acrylic paint, which I would have used, but I found this is way easier and quicker to do it this way, because this die doesn't have flat surfaces, so wiping off excess paint is way more difficult with this one. Now, after I finished coloring in the eyes of the die, it was time to also color in the faces, and the first thing I did was to just color in the teeth or the mouth part of this Jack Skellington, and I'm waiting for it to dry, and then I'm just wiping up the excess. And after that, I'm just basically coloring in everything of the other pieces, and I'm using these big intensity permanent markers to make the colors. Like for the cat, I used it for the eyes and the ears. And by the way, the cat and the pumpkin I made with the leftover resin I had. Now, I wanted to make the Jack faces into pins, so I used the pin backings and sanded them a little bit to have them some grip. Also did that with the back of the Jack Skellington hats. And then I'm using just some metal glue or jewelry glue and applying them to the backs of the Jack hats. And while these are drying, I'm adding some broken pinball pins to the backs of the other charms, and I will show you why in a little bit. Now, the idea behind these pin backings, or rather metal pieces behind these charms, is that they are magnetic, so I can place them on any magnet I want to, which means I don't have a magnet embedded and I'm forced to have the same picture on a magnet. This doesn't use magnets, and I can just interchange every single one of these pieces anytime I want to. Also, sometimes you don't want a magnet to be too big, so having a single magnet is easier than having them covered with a kind of backing. Now, I don't know how balanced this die is exactly with the different faces, but I don't think that matters. The images are so similar to the movie ones, which I really like because I'm a huge fan of the die in the movie, and I'm a sucker for things that are in movies, like little trinkets you just have that remind you of your favorite movies and stuff, and this die definitely fits into that category, and it rolls pretty well. Now, while we look at all the color changing and glow-in-the-dark aspects of my projects, let me tell you what I think of this box. Now, I really love Tim Burton's style and the feel of it and all of his movies and stuff, so this box I was definitely looking forward to, and upon receiving it I was so happy to see all the designs on the inside and outside of the box and inside the booklet. This definitely brought me a lot of joy, and I think the Disney boxes are definitely the best box designs from Sophie and Toffee. Now, as to the molds on the inside, I'm not sure how many people will actually use these molds as straw toppers. I'm sure some definitely will, but I'm also sure that there are some people that are not using straws as often like I do. So having the opportunity to not make the straw holes and just to use it as charms is definitely a huge bonus, and I'm a really big fan of that. You can basically use it as anything, as a charm, as a badge, as anything you want it to be, since you don't have to necessarily use it as a store topper. And I also like the idea that you basically can gift Jack his Christmas outfit and stuff, which is really cute. And I also really like the chibi style of the characters. Now, as for the fidget spinner, I personally am not a big fan of them. I'm sure some people may like them, but I personally didn't see the need in this mold for this box. But I think you can also easily make a coaster or like a trinket or even a clock out of the mold if you give it some tweaks. So maybe I will try that someday, cause I really like the design on the outside of the spinner. Also, the design films and the bezels they included were so cute and so adorable. I'm definitely a big fan of that, and my favorite item are the Oogie Boogie dice. Now, please comment down below what's your favorite design element of this box or your favorite mold, and what ideas do you have to make with all the items besides, for example, straw toppers or a fidget spinner. Maybe you also have some great ideas, and if you've gotten this box and already made something with it, maybe tag me on Instagram. I'm really excited to see all of you guys' creations. Anyways, that's everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I really hope you are having a nice day. See you next time. Bye!